What happened to two very loving parents? A little 5-year-old sister finds her parents shot dead.
They were murdered in their home. It was in the middle of the night.
A gut-wrenching, tearful eulogy goes down.
My husband immediately felt that something was off with this girl.
Is that normal for a crime victim to start posting endless TikToks and saying things like, hey, post this and it'll be a big hit. It's #1 on Google. Maybe I'm projecting, but when I became a crime victim, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, much less post on TikTok. Joining me right now is a very special guest who we are calling Janice. You may know her as allegedly, reportedly on TikTok. Janice, thank you for being with us. You were approached, we believe, by Sarah Grace Patrick. What happened?
That is correct. On June 3rd, I got a message from Sarah Grace Patrick that just said, search up the Brock case. And the only Brock that came to my mind was Brock Turner. So I asked, what Brock case? And she explained that it was the unsolved murders of her parents, as she put it. I later learned it was her mother and stepfather. On June 3rd, she asked me to shine a light on this case. On June 4th, she offered to email me photos of the victims and her version of events. On June 5th, I did post a video about this unsolved case, and Sarah Grace began commenting on that video.
Tell me about the video that you posted.
I posted a video similar to any video I would post about an unsolved case. I had compassion for this young girl that lost her parents, and I just wanted to do anything I could to spread awareness. So I laid out the facts that there were and asked if anyone had information to get in touch with law enforcement.
Their children found them no longer alive. I cannot imagine the trauma. This case is still unsolved and it needs more attention and it needs closure. This is James and Kristen Brock. James, 45 years old, and Kristen, 41 years old, were a beloved couple in Carroll County, Georgia. They were active in their church and their friends and family just absolutely adored them. But on February 20th, 2025, their lives were cut short. And like I said, it was their children that found them. Early that morning, their children made a horrifying discovery. To my understanding, the 5-year-old first went into the room, noticed something was off, and she went and got her 16-year-old sister, who went into the room, tried to wake her parents up, and when she touched her mother's hand, she saw that it was cold. So she called 911 and they came out. And unfortunately, there was nothing that could be done. James and Kristen were gone. Allegedly, there were no signs of forced entry. Nothing was missing from the home, and the weapon that had been used could not be located. So it was determined that this was not a case where one of them took the other one's life and then took their own.
So, Janice, you were fed all those facts by whom?
By Sarah Grace. There had been very little coverage so far, so I took what she told me at face value. Again, I viewed her as this poor child. I can't imagine being in that situation. And then a month later, I was shocked.
You know, I'm very curious. Did you ever see her many, many TikToks that she posted about her parents' murders?
I did, and I have to be honest, I think I can lean too heavily into compassion and empathy, but my husband immediately felt that something was off with this girl. I told him that he should have more empathy. How could he think that? But between her videos and the email that she sent me and the way that she said in her messages to me, this will be a big hit. He said, something smells funny. And I just said, no, maybe we just don't remember what it's like to be a teenager and we don't know how a teenager would react to this. But looking back, I should have seen so many red flags.
Okay, wait a minute. She actually said to you, quote, this will be a big hit. What will be a big hit?
Yes. when she was asking me to make a video, she said, this will be a big hit. Hardly anyone has covered it. The one person that did is the #1 search result on Google. So that, why in the world, if your parents' lives were taken, why would you be thinking about views, whether they're your own or someone else's? It should only be about awareness and answers. So that one I do regret not seeing as a red flag immediately, but yes, she said this will be a big hit.
Renowned medical examiner, toxicologist, pathologist, opioid treatment expert, author of American Narcan, and so much more. Dr. Maroney, why did she say apparent gunshot wounds? When people are shot multiple times, you know it. You walk into a room, I've done it, gone into a crime scene, and somebody's head is basically blown off, or they're shot and their chest is wide open, or their intestines are hanging out. I mean, you know, you don't have to be a medical examiner like you, or a toxicologist, or a pathologist, to know somebody's been shot.
The adjective or the adverb that you would use, apparent, is completely inappropriate. It doesn't address scientific frankness and truth, period.
Okay, you know what? I could have gotten any guy on the street to say it's not true. Okay, could you, you're the medical examiner. I was expecting something medically.
Okay, medically, we have blunt force injuries, we have sharp force injuries, and we have gunshot wounds that we consider contact or not contact. And the only time we ever use the word apparent is if somebody is burnt to a crisp and you can't figure out whether the hole is a hole from a bullet or a hole from other trauma. When we have gunshot wounds, the first thing we do is we look closely at the clothes and closely at the skin. And if there's char that goes around the wound, that means that the gun was contact on the skin. That is never an accident. It's premeditated, and it's homicide. After that, you may have some blowback on clothes, but contact gunshot wounds are really important because they show intent and motive. What we see people add adjectives and add adverbs to distract, and we want to use candor. Candor is truth with direction. And we didn't get truth with direction.
Okay, now that is much more than I get off a guy on the street. Bottom line, Maroney, isn't it true that when a victim like these two, a mom and dad, are shot in their own room multiple times, even a lawyer like me, a trial lawyer, can walk in and see they were shot? It doesn't take a PhD and a specialty in toxicology and pathology to figure that out. It's very clear. What do you know about the wounds to these two victims? A very loving mom and dad. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask Katie about this. The dad was waiting on a heart transplant, and he was still cutting the grass or vacuuming at the local church. Very, very loving to the alleged evil high school girl stepdaughter. So, Dr. Maroney, what can you tell me about their injuries?
I think the multiple gunshots is always telling versus a single gunshot. It totally relates to some kind of crime of passion. There's a lot of hatred. There's a disruption. This may actually be a sign of mental illness, or I hate to use the term drug addiction.
Dear Lord in heaven, you've been on your opioid bus for way too long. Maroney has a bus, put his money where his mouth is, and he travels to enlighten and help and treat opioid addicts, saving a lot of lives. Okay, Dr. Maroney, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you a medical examiner? That's a yes-no, Maroney. A medical examiner, right?
Yes, Maroney. It's a yes,
Okay,
Maroney.
that means you have a medical degree, correct?
That's a yes, Maroney. Yes.
Okay. And you are a toxicologist and a pathologist, correct?
I work with forensic toxicology, and my work is pathology, but I'm not the pathologist. I'm a medical examiner. Same, close.
Okay. At any point, did you receive your PhD in psychology or psychiatry?
No, but I own a clinic.
So you're trying to tell me right now, by multiple gunshot wounds, the body's literally hanging open, that you can tell me there was a mental illness on the part of the shooter? How just about plain out mean girl?
Behavioral problems. That kids today are so messed up between COVID and TikTok, and violence, and just we mental illness cannot be.
You just threw COVID in the bag with TikTok.
I did.
I don't think they're similar at all. By the way, I'm putting you on TikTok tonight. Okay, so. You're going to be on TikTok, Dr. Maroney. You know what? Let's just get a grip on reality really quickly. First of all, I'm going to go back to Maroney when I need a medical opinion.